Good morning. We're here on the minor guardianship docket for February 28th. I'm Commissioner Dave Nelson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Thank you. I don't know if Ms. King is here, but I did talk with her yesterday.
And Ms. King is who in this case?
The petitioner.
Okay. Oh, you did talk, so you did make contact with somebody.
Oh, this case is almost completed. I actually just need a week to complete my report.
Okay, on Joshua Lanier?
Yes, Ms. King just needed to file the proofs of service, which she did, but I didn't learn of that until yesterday.
Okay. So do you want me to put this over a week or 2 weeks?
Just 1 week, please.
Okay, let me look in the calendar. All right, we'll put it over to March 7th. Thank you. And the other case is guardianship of Luke.
And that matter's ready.
I believe I made a decision last week and we were just going to present the order today.
It was an agreed, my clients had agreed to the guardianship. And so we were before the court today for presentation of that order. I did circulate an order last week. Ms. Winkles and Ms. Day had made some proposed suggested changes. I made those changes yesterday and circulated that. At this point, we're just awaiting on confirmation from Ms. Hall and Mr. Center as to their approval. I do have the approval of Ms. Day and Ms. Winkles. So I guess my suggestion today is if we can get that, then maybe I can just write on the order approved via Zoom and then send it to Your Honor for ex parte, if that's an option.
Ms. Winkles, does that work?
Yes, I agree. So it would be up to Ms. Hall today to give her approval of the order on the record.
All right, is Ms. Hall here?
Yes, I am.
All right. Have you seen the order?
I did see the order, but I didn't know I had to sign off on it.
Well, if you agree with it, you can tell me, and then we can write per Zoom on the order, and that would say that you gave your approval to me over Zoom.
Okay, perfect. I give your approval.
Okay, good.
So with that, Your Honor, I will interlineate that on the order, and then I'll send it over for your signature for ex parte today.
What about Mr. Center?
He is right here. Just say
he responded to an email saying that he saw it.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
every single one of them, they keep coming in.
Mr. Center, you also agree to this order?
Yes.
Okay. All right. If you want to interlineate that and send that to me, I'll sign it.
I can do that today.
Have another. Sorry.
You're okay.
Go ahead.
So I got sent a I forget what it's called. It's like a interrogating letter thing. I don't. It's not called
interrogatories. Ms. Winkle, do you want to address that?
Yeah, so all of the discovery that I've sent out, if it's from my office, don't worry about it. We finalized the case. It's no more. Just poof, it's gone. Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you,
Your
Your Honor.
Thank you.
I got one thing.
They didn't go off yet.
We're okay.
Okay. So I think a court order is needing to be put in place for them to get their things because they're not wanting to give them up.
Yeah, so I included that in my changes yesterday, that we would arrange to have those items dropped off, and I'm coordinating with my client and Ms. Day to get that done.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the cooperation.
And Your Honor, the Davenport matter, or the Adeline Reeves, I'll be asking for a 1 week continuance, just because we turned in stuff late. And also there's a hearing, just so Your Honors, where the parenting plan action got set over, will be heard on March 1st.
Well, that's tomorrow. And the reason I put it over to then is I was hoping to get a decision today on this matter.
Okay.
So I would end up putting the March 1st hearing over to March 8th then.
Oh, never mind then. Never mind.
Here's my thinking. I told this to Ms. Davenport when we were together last week. is before I enter a parenting plan, it seems to me I need to decide if I'm going to terminate the guardianship.
Okay.
If we need to put that over a week, I'll consider that. Ms.
I
Kennedy,
was
what's
gonna
your view?
ask on if we could do that just. Oh,
You're breaking up a
Oh.
little bit. You want to try it again? Now, go ahead.
is it better now?
Let me,
Okay, sorry about that.
my clerk has indicated that Mr. South is on this case and he's not with us yet. So maybe we should wait till he can join us before we decide what we do with this case, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, let's do
thank
that.
you.
You bet. Let's go to guardianship of Gabe, and Ms. Gill is here. So we've had joint visits for about a month, and Ms. Gill, why don't you go first? How have those been going?
I think the visits have been going pretty well. What I decided to do the last 2 weekends was kind of transition him a little bit, where 2 weeks ago, we spent like the last half hour or so at her house so we could see the inside of it. And then this last visit, we tried to kind of split it up in half. It wasn't exactly half, but we spent about an hour and 45 minutes at her house. Because I do know the change in environment there is going to make him a little anxious. So I thought maybe if we did it together, it could help him out some. And he seemed to like that. I think we did a couple things. We went out in public. We did some mini golf, which was really fun. Went to McDonald's. She got to kind of experience why we don't go to restaurants as often, but it was nice. It was nice working as a team. Like my sister said, it's been really hard for us to work as a team just because of the differences, or, the circumstances aren't where they should be for Gage. So it's just very promising seeing her in a place where we can connect for him. And I feel like she's finally seeing it as like we're both his parents, and that's something we can't really change for him besides working together for him as a family. And it's just been a lot nicer that way, I felt. And then I know she did tell me she's gotten her license back, and a blow tube. She drove to our house this last weekend. I don't know like the insurance wise or whose car it is, but I know she will have to get like a car seat so that she can transport him. So it seems like everything's kind of working its way out right now.
All right. Ms. Johnston?
I agree. This is probably the first time in this whole case that me and my sister have been able to actually work together as a team. And it's been really just promising. Like, I feel like Gage feels more secure in it, seeing us both work together. And instead of like, when it comes to like just doing little things with him, like with making lunch, we've worked together on it, and I've, asked her what her ideas are, and maybe we could do it together. So Gage sees us as a team, and it seems to be working really well. I don't have anything bad to say. I did get my license. I do have a blow tube installed. I've got insurance. I do have to get a car seat. I'm looking at that today. I'm not working yet, so I'm still trying to work around income. So I'm hoping that I can find some resources for a car seat. But I think it's gone really well. I think I'm learning how to deal with my son's outbursts, or like, to calm him down, or, different ways to work through some things when he gets a little overwhelmed. But I feel like overall we've worked really good as a team because we're the only parents he's ever known. So I think it's going really well.
Okay. I want some honest replies to the question I'll ask, but a couple of years ago, the court entered this phased visitation plan. So phase 1 would be Ms. Johnston with the child, and I take this to be unsupervised, every Saturday and every Sunday from 10 to 3. And she has to continue on her compliance with treatment. That is supposed to last for a period of 2 months with no relapses. Ms. Gill, do you think we're ready to move to that stage at this point?
I think we're really close. I would like at least maybe one weekend visit where we spend the whole time together with me and him. My only concern is the 2 times we've went there, there's no one home. So I do know that once it might be a little challenging for her as he's there and there's more people, but he's gonna have to, he's gonna have to learn how to deal with that. But I would hope for maybe just one more weekend together, spend it all over there. And then, because I have been talking to him about how soon he's going to have visits with mommy by himself. And he said he was a little scared. And that's why I had decided to go over to her house the last couple weekends, because I thought it would help him out a little bit. But besides that, I'm pretty confident and ready for him to start doing that, because I think it would be good for them.
That's fine with me. I'm even okay with it being like 2 more weekends if she wants, and then maybe like, cause on the phase 1, I got it in front of me. It says Saturdays and Sundays. So like if we want to split it up again, even like this next weekend, say like, how we did the last weekend, half and half, if we can try that, I'm up for that. I do agree. I think it would make him more comfortable. And then, once he is more comfortable in the, because he came over and he went through all of his toys that I've had of his the whole time. And he got really excited and he got to ride his new bike. But I think we didn't really get to sit down and really just like, maybe put on a TV show or anything like that. So I think maybe, the next 2 visits, if we work on that a little bit more, and I think it would be good for him.
So first of all, I'm very happy that we're now at a point where we're about to implement what the court put together a while back, and that took a lot of work on everybody's part. So I want to acknowledge that. Let's say 2 more weekends together, but it will be Saturday and Sunday 10 to 3. Will that work with your schedule, Ms. Gill?
It makes it a little hard just because I usually use Sundays as our day of having to do grocery shopping and housework, because half of one of my days off is spent with the visit. I wouldn't mind if maybe this weekend we do Saturday for the 4 hours, and then next weekend do Saturday and Sunday. And then after that, let her continue. And of course, I'm always one phone call away if she ever, needs anything. And luckily we live only like 5 minutes apart. So that's really nice.
Okay, let's do that. So Saturday will be 10 to 3. A week from Saturday will be Saturday and Sunday 10 to 3. And then the next weekend will be Saturday and Sunday 10 to 3, unsupervised. And you mentioned you're a phone call away. I would like you to be on call should there be something that Ms. Johnston runs into that she needs assistance with. And Ms. Johnston, I don't want you to feel that I'm going to unwind all of this if you make a call saying, I don't know how to handle this situation. I'd rather you do that. I'm committed to seeing you get through these phases. Okay.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you too, because like I've told her, I'm still learning so much. And it's only been this last year that I've even realized he had any sensory issues or autism was even, a factor. So I'm still learning. And that's why I always want it to be open, that she feels comfortable to call me in those things, because I'd rather her call me trying to work it out together than him continue with a meltdown. And then it's just no fun for anybody.
Okay. I'll put together a bench order indicating those modifications. Otherwise, I'll say that we're going to start phase 1 of this plan. Let's get back together on April 25th. That's about 2 months from now. That's when this plan, the phase 1 would end and we'd go to phase 2. I want you to know, Ms. Johnston, I'm going to require a hair follicle test as we move from one phase to the other. So if you want to do that before April 25th or shortly after that, as you go from one phase to another, I'm going to require that each time you make the transition. Okay.
Okay. I just have a few questions. So in our order, it does say that she can request a hair follicle at any time and all that. And then if it's positive, that she pays for it, or no, I have to pay for it. If it's negative, then it's got to be reimbursed. If we can
Right.
that I'd be appreciative of it, because I don't have an income right now, and I've paid for the last two that came back
I
negative.
never was paid back for the positive one though.
And that's why I paid for the first one. So I'm just saying from here on, because if we're gonna do that each phase, like I can figure it out. But
Okay,
like,
I don't think I'm going to agree to that because I'm ordering the hair follicle as we go from transition to transition. It isn't something that Ms. Gill is asking for.
okay. And then as far as when we move into this phase, or going back to the order, as we start trying to get back into that,
Right.
if at any point in time I want to get in front of you again for some reason, for any modification, anything like that, do I have to file a different, is it going to be under the minor guardianship?
Right. All this will be under the minor guardianship. If either of you feel you need to get back in court sooner, say than April 25th, you can do that. But I think it's unlikely I'm going to change from the phased program that the court put together. So the next phases, I believe, are each 6 months long. So they're quite a bit of time. I'm probably not going to rethink that. I'm going to require that we go through those different phases. Okay.
So in our phase 4, it does say that at 18 months that I can ask for a modification of me being clean. 18 months would be next month. And I have this, the reason I even had to bring this to court was because the plan wasn't being followed by the other party. And I think we're working really good together now. And I do think that the phase part, but there's just a couple of things at the end of this agreement that I don't think are right anymore. So maybe like in 6 months, could we think about that, depending on how things go? Because it goes from me having them every weekend through these phases and overnights to me only getting them every other weekend, and that doesn't like transition me into like decision making or like school or his therapies or anything like that. And if he is say this plan and we're going to be transitioning him back home eventually, like this plan doesn't actually have any of that in it. And so I feel like it needs to be adjusted later on for that, to start having us work together more with those decisions and the school and the therapy, and for me to learn all of it and be a part of it for when he does come home.
There's a saying that you're getting ahead of your skis, and I think that's what's happening here. First of all, I don't think the 18 months kicks in until you get through all 4 phases of this program. That was the contemplation of the court, is that you would get through phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, then you'd be able to petition for custody at that point. Right now we're in phase 1. I understand things might have to be adjusted, and you can always talk to me about that. But right now, let's get through phase 1. Let's do the plan as it calls for. And when we start phase 2, we'll see if there's anything else we need to address at that time. Okay. Everyone's doing really good. Let's just not try to push things to where we start feeling uncomfortable. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll do the order. I'll see you back here on April 25th, and good luck. You're going to spend time alone with your son for the first time in a long time. And I hope that goes really well for you. So, Mr. South, before you logged on,
Thank you.
Ms. Winkles had asked for a 1-week set over in this case. And I don't know if you're aware, Ms. Davenport had brought a motion in my family law docket for a parenting plan. I indicated to her, I can't really do that until we decide what we're going to do with the minor guardianship action, whether that's going to be terminated or not. I put the parenting plan over to tomorrow, thinking that we would make that decision today. But if we're putting this over a week, then I'll need to kick the parenting plan over a week also. So I'm willing to hear from everybody on that issue.
Like I was stating, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I
Is
can.
it?
Thank you.
Okay, okay.
It's good now.
Uh, I would like to have a week continuance. Unfortunately, my mother is not well right now. She started drinking again, excessively. And because of that, she's just not well right now. And I would like that to be taken into consideration given the new declaration that she proposed. And it does give me some time to gather up enough evidence and some more, because there's a couple more declarations that are coming in. So that would give me a little bit of time. And I did not receive the declaration till literally 5 p.m. The knock was on my door. So I was not given enough time to, I mean, I read it, but I have not had any time to do anything with it. So
Sorry about that. Yeah, I have no problem with setting it over.
Ms. Davenport, you sent a note saying, okay, does that mean you're okay with the continuance?
Oh, sorry. I thought that was, anyway, yes, I'll agree with my attorney. I'm going to follow her lead.
Okay. And that means tomorrow, you should still show up on the docket, but I'll
Okay.
probably put the hearing tomorrow over 1 week also.
Okay, so I don't have to call into work then. It's just going to be a carryover.
Yeah, it's just going to be a carryover.
Okay.
Do you need to miss work to be on the
Yeah.
docket tomorrow? Well, why don't you not do that? I'll just put it over 1 week so you don't
Okay.
have to miss work.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sal?
Can I inform my client, Mr. Reeves, that he doesn't have to attend the hearing tomorrow?
Yeah, yes, you may. And I'll just take care of it myself.
Okay.
It looks like Mr. Anagnostu's here, Mr. Ervig, Casey Ervig, and Ms. Smith. I was expecting the father to be here too. David McCoy. Maybe he's with Ms. Ervig. All right, I think we're here today for a hearing on whether the emergency minor guardianship should be entered. Is that everybody's understanding?
Yes, that's my understanding, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Again, Mr. Anagnostu, who do you represent?
I represent the child. I was
Okay.
appointed. You appointed me
Parker McCoy.
two children involved, but the older child is not an issue. She lives with the uncle, Mr. Ervig. The younger child, Parker, very young, also lives with Mr. Ervig. And the issue is visitation or custody or some kind of relationship between Parker and the mother, Casey.
Okay, well, we have to determine, I think, today whether the emergency minor guardianship should be granted, and then we'll secondarily deal with visitation issues if we need to. I think the way we need to go forward is I'll start with Brandon Ervig, since he's the petitioner. And then I'll hear from Mr. Anagnostu, who represents the child. And then I'll hear from Ms. Smith. And then I don't see Casey Ervig anymore.
While we're waiting, Your Honor, I was wondering if we could inquire from Brandon Ervig, the uncle, whether David McCoy has any interest in that. It's my understanding he hasn't showed up to any of these hearings, and he's not participated or seeking any kind of residential time.
David McCoy was here the last time we were here.
Oh, okay.
And I asked him if he agreed that Brandon Ervig could be the guardian. And in light of the fact I ruled that Casey Ervig could not go to treatment with Parker, David Ervig indicated that he did not agree at that point. He wanted the child to be with the mother.
Okay.
And so that's why I expected him to be here. I made it clear that this was the date for the hearing. I don't see.
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
Casey just messaged me. She said that she lost internet connection. She was trying to get back on.
Okay. I will continue to wait for her to get back on. I've waited about 10, maybe 15 minutes. Casey Ervig is not logged on during that time. Mr. Ervig, has she talked to you any other times?
No, all she said that was she lost internet connection. She was trying to log back in. I did send her a screenshot of the call-in number, but I have not heard back from her.
I haven't seen that come up either on the waiting room.
I don't know, you know, I think the court can go ahead and take evidence from Mr. Ervig and enter the emergency guardianship. The alternative is to set it over. I mean, this electronic hearings, these Zoom hearings, I mean, they do have issues, and that becomes a fairness issue over somebody. But I mean, this is weird. She was here and now she's gone. So I leave it up to the court. I would like to have some kind of resolution on behalf of my minor client here. But I leave it up to the court. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence because I understand, you know, when you have electronic issues and trying to get into these meetings, but there's other alternatives. And so I guess at this point, I'd promote having an emergency order entered and then leaving it up to the mother to bring a motion or do whatever she's going to do if she wants it reviewed.
Ms. Smith, any comments?
Your Honor, I'm in agreement with entering the emergency orders. I think that what we'll find is that in the next maybe month or so, you'll see that both parties, Ms. Ervig and Mr. Ervig, are reaching some agreements and potentially entering a limited guardianship to afford Ms. Ervig to engage in treatment and to reconcile with her daughter. And I think the very near future is the game plan from the conversations that I've had. So for the emergency guardianship, I would ask that the order be entered.
Mr. Ervig, any comment?
No, I'm with Mallory and the attorney. I have been speaking with Casey. We are working on coming to an agreement, allowing her to go to treatment. We had spoke 60 days clean, 30 of which have to be in the inpatient treatment center. And at that point, I would bring Parker down and let Parker join her. But that's all I have for this time.
All right. I will say that as a court, we really don't have a policy of what happens when somebody appears and then loses connection or decides not to appear. It's really difficult to know exactly what's going on here. She's indicated she's lost connection, but she was given the phone number to call in. There's been no apparent effort to do that. So I'm going to make a decision to go forward and for two reasons. One, this was the date of the hearing, and I think it's incumbent on all of the participants to figure out the electronics of this. And secondly, the order is not a permanent order. If we were entering a permanent order, I might be inclined to continue it. But this is an order for 60 days. It certainly does not stop Mr. Ervig and Ms. Ervig from reaching whatever agreement they think is appropriate, even if that's within the 60-day period. And I would expect Mr. Anagnosti would have to be included in that, along with Ms. Smith. But before I enter the orders, since this is the hearing date, I think I do need to take testimony.
Uncle?
All right. And Parker's currently residing with you, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And how long has Parker been residing with you?
October, end of October.
All right.
I
So
don't
that's
know the exact date.
about 4 months, November, December, January, February.
Yes.
Okay. And during that time, has David McCoy seen Parker at all?
Yeah, David just started coming to visitations. I think he's been to about 3 of them the last 3 or 4 weeks
Okay.
since he
And-
was released from jail.
Okay. Tell the court why you feel that a emergency guardianship is necessary.
Due to Casey's drug addiction issues, I don't feel that Parker was properly being cared for.
And you're aware that Casey is attempting to obtain treatment for that addiction?
Yeah, her and I have talked about it.
And it's likely she's going to go to inpatient treatment?
Yes.
What is the situation with David McCoy? Is he able to care for Parker at this time?
I'm not really too sure of his current situation. I know because of all the domestic violence charges and stuff like that, he had to give up custody of his other 3 kids. I'm not part of that court case. I don't know what's going on with that. All I know is he shows up to his visitations.
Okay. And have those been going okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're willing to continue those visitations over the next 60 days?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Irvig. I appreciate your testimony. I think to round this out, Ms. Smith, I'd like to place you under oath and let you discuss this with the court. And you've been appointed the guardian ad litem in this case,
Correct.
right? Have you been able to conduct an investigation?
I have a partial investigation completed, and I'm still pending some records related to prior criminal history.
All right. Why don't you briefly tell the court what you determined and whether Casey Irvig and or David McCoy would be able to be an appropriate parent?
Thank you, Your Honor. So just to recap, the petition was filed in mid-October, in which Mr. Irvig and Ms. Gunnels sought to gain emergency guardianship of the child. Within that petition, there was a declaration filed indicating that mother, Ms. Casey Irvig, has some significant substance abuse issues and challenges before her. The petition actually originated from a desire of the child's other sibling to begin residing with Mr. Irvig and Ms. Gunnels. During my investigation and throughout this matter, I've been able to review and investigate meeting with individuals. Filed in this court case on November, Ms. Irvig does file some sealed records, the outpatient records indicating that she is engaged in treatment and was participating. However, the court did request or order a hair follicle to be provided, and to date that still has yet to be provided to the court. In speaking with the other child in the other matter, Ms. Riley, the decision to pursue a minor guardianship was initiated by Riley's desire to reside with Mr. Irvig. Although Riley does indicate to myself that she was hesitant to leave Parker in the care of Ms. Irvig. From Riley's perspective, the household was unkept, and a lot of the responsibilities of the household and managing the household were left to Riley. Riley was often not provided the opportunity to go to school. There was very little structure Riley also indicates that with the substance abuse challenges of Miss Erbig, there had been 2 noted instances in which Miss Erbig overdosed in front of Riley and Riley's friends, causing Riley to call 911 to seek intervention. Riley indicates to me that in a large portion of her life in Miss Erbig's care, she was parentified. She was often tasked with caring for Parker for as in short spans of an hour to a day or two. Miss Erbig was not available to participate in parenting functions. She wouldn't answer phones. She was not in the home, and Riley had no idea where she was. At current, based on the information that I've been provided, I see that Miss Erbig has a very strong desire to gain custody of the child again. I think that the court will note that she's very passionate in pursuing whatever efforts that she can to receive Parker in her care again. With that said, though, we're missing a very strong link to creating a happy, healthy household for Parker. Within the declarations, it's indicated that Miss Erbig's current SUD challenges are related to heroin and fentanyl. We know the severity that exists with fentanyl use, and that actual ingestion can be accomplished very easily. And if we are including a child in that home where fentanyl use is chronic, we have the potential of a infant or child death. Those are the concerns. I think Miss Erbig is willing. I think at this juncture, given her SUD challenges, she's not able to create a household where the child will be cared for safely. I think Mr. Erbig and Ms. Gunnels are working very hard to meet the needs of the child. We have medical appointments that are being scheduled for chronic issues relating to ears and infections and those types of things. And I think that Mr. Erbig and Ms. Gunnels are working very hard to traverse that line between being a guardian for Parker and protecting Parker, and trying to balance between those two things and continuing to engage with the parent-child relationship in a safe manner. I think that is being accomplished. I think you will find that Mr. Erbig is very motivated to support Miss Erbig in gaining sobriety. I think that you will find that Mr. Erbig and Ms. Gunnels are very supportive of allowing Mr. McCoy to have his regular visits. Mr. McCoy, for all intents and purposes, has been disengaged. He's appeared in one court matter, which was the last hearing. I've sought to make connections with him to ask for his engagement and his participation, provide him information so that he could actively engage in this matter, and he's declined. Ms. Casey Erbig indicates that Mr. McCoy is largely uninvolved as well, and has been for the length of the child's life. So I think that what Mr. Erbig and Ms. Gunnels are doing currently is probably the most supportive measures to maintain that parent-child relationship for both parents moving forward. And ultimately, I know that Mr. Erbig does want Casey to gain physical custody of Parker, and wants her to do that, and wants her to gain that sobriety so that she can have her child back in her care, and that family can move forward in a healthy manner.
Mr. Anagnostou, any comments?
No, Your Honor, I did have a couple of questions I wanted to ask from Mr. Erbig.
Sure.
Mr. Erbig, as indicated by the guardian ad litem, you have custody of the older sibling, Riley, who is she 15, 16, somewhere in there?
She's 14 and her guardianship case has not been decided yet either.
Right. And in conversations with her and what you know about your sister and what's going on in this case, do you know the extent of Casey's drug usage?
Just from what Riley and her older sister, who is 18, have told me. Unfortunately, I've not had the best relationship with my sister over the years, due to her drug use, but just from what the two older children have told me.
And in this action, as you've indicated, you're not trying to keep Parker from Casey, but you're concerned about her drug usage.
Yeah, so Parker's safety is mine and my wife's number one concern. But long term, you know, we want Casey to get better and we want her to be able to parent her child. It is not our intentions of taking Parker forever. However, we don't want to do this forever.
Right.
You know, we want her to either get better and be a parent or leave the scenario, I guess.
And along those lines, there has been requested information with regards to her doing a UA or getting a drug assessment, those type of things. What's your understanding of the results of those?
I did not know. Well, I know we asked for hair follicle that she has yet to submit. I was never served with the papers that she was attending an outpatient treatment. Apparently, she said she had filed them. I have never seen them. And that's what leads me to believe that she's a flight risk. You know, me and my wife have been under the impression that this whole time she hasn't been doing anything on her part to prove that she wants to get better.
But you're still willing to allow residential time, and even we've been talking about this in an inpatient treatment program where Parker would actually be involved in that treatment program.
Yeah, so Saturday after Casey's visitation, I actually drove her home, and we had a chance to talk, and I expressed my concerns with not knowing, you know, that she has been doing anything. And I told her that, you know, originally I had said 90 days. Show me 90 days that you can be clean, check into your rehab center, and at the end of the 90 days, I will reunite you and Parker. To which she said, how about 30 days? And we agreed on 60. She wasn't at that time sure if they still had a bed open. So I told her 30 days of outpatient, as long as she's doing weekly UAs would be okay. But the last 30 days before I take Parker to inpatient must be at that inpatient facility.
So if the court grants a 60-day emergency guardianship, basically we would need to have it reviewed at the end of the 60 days to see if she's even gotten into a program or done anything. It can be extended, I believe, one time on an emergency.
Yes. I would ask that, I mean, even if she checks in to the treatment center and I reunite Parker, I would ask that I remain guardian until she has completed her treatment. And then, you know, as long as she's doing good, we could see about giving guardianship back to her. I just don't want something to go wrong and have to start all over from the beginning.
And has there been an issue with regards to truthfulness on Casey's part?
Yeah, I mean, obviously she told us, not our last meeting, but the meeting before, you know, that the treatment center wouldn't let her leave with Parker, which wasn't true. You know, told us a bunch of things regarding the treatment center that weren't true.
I didn't have any other questions.
All right. Thank you for everybody's input. Emergency guardians are governed by RCW 130.225. And I want to read the language from that. So subpart 1A is appointment of an emergency guardian is likely to prevent substantial harm to the minor's health, safety, or welfare. That's the court has to find that in order to appoint one, and find that no other person appears to have authority, ability, and the willingness to act to prevent substantial harm to the minor's health, safety, or welfare. So really the only other two people other than Mr. Ervig would be Casey Ervig or David McCoy. And if we look at Casey Ervig, there's testimony that she is currently dealing with drug addiction. There's testimony that there were many times where she abandoned Parker, left Riley in charge. Riley is now 14, might have been younger when that occurred. And while Ms. Casey Ervig wants to seek treatment and wants return of custody of Parker, it certainly is clear to the court that she's not in a position to do that safely at this time. So she's not an option to take care of Parker. And then we go to David McCoy, who apparently has been incarcerated until recently. But it sounds like even prior to that, he was not involved in Parker's life, has chosen not to be involved in these proceedings. He was present a week ago when I made it clear we were all going to be here today to do a hearing on whether to do the emergency guardian, and he is not here. It appears that there's really a lack of involvement from Mr. McCoy, and so he would not be a viable option to take care of Casey. So based on that, I do find that there's no other person other than Brandon Ervig and the co-petitioner who appears to have the authority, ability, and willingness to act to prevent substantial harm to Parker's health, safety, and welfare. So based on that, I will grant the order. Do we have an order? We don't have an order here. Can Mr. Anagnosti, do you want to put one together?
I can, Your Honor.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Why don't you put one together and submit it to me, put my name on it, and then it should get routed to me and I'll sign it when I receive it.
All right.
If you could do that later today, I don't know what your schedule is, but because the emergency probably expires today, the sooner we get it entered, the better. It's going to expire around April 28th, 29th, 30th, somewhere in there. So let's set the review date for April 25th. Mr. Ervig, I want you to know that the court and the statutes allow me to extend the emergency minor guardianship for another 60 days if that's necessary. So when we get here on April 25th, we can look at whether an extension would be warranted given the circumstances.
Okay, and my question is, if she starts doing her treatment and all that around that, and she's close in that 60-day period, is the court going to allow me to let Parker go to treatment with her? I know you had said originally that you would grant us guardianship for the duration of her treatment. Is that something you guys are going to be willing to do?
That's likely. I'm not sure I want to make a firm decision because there may be opposition to it that I would need to hear.
Okay.
But if she does her 30 days of outpatient and then goes in, I guess, well, we probably wouldn't be at 30 days of inpatient by the time we get to the 25th. But as the guardian, you're able to make really all of the decisions regarding visitation with David and Casey and how much Casey can see Parker.
Okay.
All right, I think it's likely I'll go back to what I was considering before, which is if we agree that Parker can be with Casey at treatment, that I'd want her to agree that you remain the guardian until she's at least completed treatment.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Okay, but we can address that specifically on the 25th. Okay.
And on
All
the
right.
25th, Your Honor, did you say 10? You said 10:30?
10:30. That's when we do these dockets on Tuesday.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. And for some reason I wrote down 10 and I didn't think that was correct.
10:30. Okay. All right. Thank you for everybody's work on this case. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.